Dr. Paul Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's a pleasure to follow the member for Walsall North. We both represent proud towns, but, Mr. Speaker, I'll be voting against this deal, which I assess will leave people in my constituency of Stockton South worse off and make their jobs less secure. Back in June 2016, I approached the EU referendum not as my town's local MP, but as one of Stockton's local GPs. My experience working in the NHS taught me the principle of informed consent. Informed consent is given based on a clear appreciation and understanding of the facts, implications and consequences of an action. But do we really have informed consent for this Brexit deal? Did people have a clear appreciation of how this interpretation of Brexit would, for example, affect health and social care? Half of us will get cancer. Did people really give their informed consent to leave the European Medicines Agency and get new cancer drugs 6 months later than other countries? Or to risk our health and social care workforce, which depends, we depend on people from EU countries coming and sharing their skills here? For my constituents who work making car parts for Nissan, did they give their informed consent for a Brexit deal that the North East Chamber of Commerce now says threatens the very future of car manufacturing in the North East? Their jobs are on the line with the vote we'll cast next week. This is not a small thing. Will taking back control be any kind of compensation for not having a job? What if somebody wants to retire to the sun? Sorry? No, there will be no ongoing entitlement to go and live in Spain. Was informed consent given for that? Or for a young person who wants to study and work in Europe and who will lose that right? To soldiers, to members of our armed forces who've served our country, our union, did they give their informed consent to go back to the bad old days of conflict in Northern Ireland? Peace in Northern Ireland was hard won and is under threat if we leave the EU in this way. Mr. Speaker, my constituents were quite clearly told that their lives would be better, that the rest of the world would be queuing up to trade with us, that the NHS would get more money. We now know that none of these things are going to happen. Informed consent wasn't ever obtained for this version of Brexit. This detail just wasn't there. But, Mr. Speaker, Brexit has never been about igniting the better, prouder country that my constituents want. This whole Brexit project is one where, from a group of people who want to fundamentally weaken our country's safety net. They want to water down workers' rights, pension protections and leave to care for children. These are the extra costs of employment that we've all agreed to share in the EU. A good thing, supported by unions, supported by workers, but threatened by Brexit. And let's be clear, this version of Brexit doesn't have the support of the NHS either. The Royal College of GPs says it's essential that the public are fully informed about the damage that leaving in the EU could cause to the NHS. Nurses and midwives say the same thing. Damage because it will lead to less money for the NHS as our economy grows less than it would. Damage because it will exacerbate an existing staffing crisis. And damage because it will delay access to new drugs. Mr. Speaker, it just isn't worth it. I spend my weekends listening to people on the streets of Stockton South. Opinions are mixed. Emotions are strong. But my constituents have given me two clear messages. First, people agree that Brexit isn't going well. They're as frustrated as I am with how the government has handled Brexit, and they don't want me to vote for this deal. And second, people do want a final say, a public vote on the final deal now that the facts on Brexit are clear. If Parliament can't agree on what to do, then this needs to go back to the people. A people's vote, The first chance for all people to give their truly informed consent, knowing all of the facts about what Brexit means. There's nothing to fear from more democracy here. We owe it to the people we represent, before taking this giant risk to the future of our country, to check with them that we truly have their informed consent.